Hello. Welcome on back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. With us today, I have my dear friend Angel on in to be our model. If you guys don't remember, she was on my channel a few months back when I first started it, and she's back with us today. She called me up this morning and said, "Hey, Spence, I need you to help a girl out. I had a rough night last night and I'm just needing a glam, and let's film it for your channel. I'm coming as is with the makeup still on my face and all. I need a full-blown transformation." So that's what inspired this very impromptu hungover makeover tutorial. So if you guys want to learn how I created this look right here, then keep on watching. So to begin, I'm using the One Size Go Off Makeup Dissolving Mist and Makeup Wipes. I'm spraying the mist onto Angel's face, giving it a couple seconds to break down the makeup, and then go in with the wipe to remove everything. And as you can see, there's quite a bit to remove. I honestly almost peed my pants, you guys, when she walked in the door today. I know she told me she was hungover and still had her makeup on from the night before, but still, I was not expecting all of this. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Where in the world are you going with a bold red lip and a heavy smoky eye? I don't understand. But this is really why I have so much love for this girl right here. She literally does not care what people think about her. She does the craziest looks for her before shots. She knows she's naturally gorgeous. So if you don't give this video a thumbs up for the makeup, at least give it a thumbs up for this girl's confidence. She has it and I need some of it. For the hard to reach places around the eyes, I'm spraying that One Size mist on a Q-tip and running it through the lashes. By the way, a shout out to One Size for partnering up with me again for this tutorial. Y'all really liked the last tutorial I did using their deep shade powder, so I'm going to be using their universal translucent shade later on today. But until then, I'm using the Dewy Skin Cream from Tatcha to prep our model's skin. I'm placing this cream on the back of my hand, then working my beauty blender into it before applying it onto the skin. This beauty blender is damp and is the same one I'll be using throughout the rest of the makeup application today. I've said it before, but I love applying skincare with the same beauty blender I use for the foundation and concealer and contour and so on, because it allows every product I use for these steps to kind of blend together and become unified, if that makes sense. Plus, it's just not really my style to use 4 different sponges and 20 different brushes for a makeup application. I like keeping it pretty simple. To prep the lips, I'm applying the Laneige Lip Sleeping Mask. Between the matte liquid lipstick she was wearing last night and the Long Island iced teas, her lips will thank us for this extra bit of hydration. Now, with the Milani 2-in-1 foundation and concealer, I'm beginning to build up the coverage. I'm only using 2 pumps of this foundation, which is more than enough for coverage on her face and neck. That's important to mention with my makeup application as well, that there are sometimes a lot of different products and steps I use, but doesn't mean I gotta use a lot of the product I'm using. It's much like baking a cake. There may be 10 different ingredients involved, but the recipe only calls for a pinch of this and a teaspoon of that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes much sense or if that was the best metaphor to use, but I'm trying here. So to conceal, I'm using the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer in the shade SX04 and placing this onto the under eye area. You already know my love for this concealer. I've used it tons of times in past videos. If you're in the market to try out a new concealer and you want to try something full coverage, give this one a try, but you're really going to want to know how to work with it to get the best possible results. So as you see, I'm placing this directly underneath Angel's eyes with a concealer brush. Now this looks like a lot of concealer, but in fact, it's a very small amount. It just happens to be very opaque because it is so pigmented. And in most cases, you won't even need this much of it. Angel does have some slight darkness around the eyes, and she likes a bright under eye. So that's why I've applied this amount I have. And taking your time blending this out is key. You really want to work this into the skin and blend it out in the areas you want coverage. Once we have that blended out and up onto the upper eyelid, it should look a little something like this. Now, to set it, I'm using the One Size Ultimate Blurring Setting Powder along with the Ultimate Setting and Baking Puff. I like pouring the powder into the palm of my hand, like so, and then really pressing that puff into it so that the powder not only sits on top of the puff, but it's also really saturated into it. And then I press it onto the concealer so that it sets. You'll notice here that you don't see a whole lot of powder sitting on top of the skin. I will use this powder to bake this area later on, but I first want to set and mattify it. If I were to go straight in with baking with tons of powder on top of this wet concealer, it's gonna end up feeling really heavy and looking cakey, and we don't want that. This is the key to my flawless under eye. Take my word for it. The mix of using this One Size powder along with a technique of setting it lightly first and then baking will change your life. And by the way, take the tips I'm giving to you with a grain of salt. Everyone's skin, face, and preference is different. So you don't have to use as much concealer and or powder as I do, or you can use more. My goal is just to demonstrate the overall technique and the fundamentals of it so you can take away from it what may work for you and incorporate it into your makeup routine. Now look at this dramatic difference. The power of a good concealer and a good powder is everything. There's a little excess powder there, but not enough to really consider it baking. Anyways, I'm gonna continue on with the other eye so you can watch again the steps that I take, but without me talking so much. Alrighty, so now that we have the other eye concealed and set, it's time to move on. To contour and bronze, I'm using the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation Stick in the shade Y505 and applying this on with a blush brush. I'm placing this in all of the areas of the face that we want to bronze up a bit, including the cheekbones, the perimeter of the forehead, the nose, and the jawline. And referring back to what I was saying earlier, I'm using the smallest amount of this with the lightest touch. You can see on the back of my hand just how much of this product I have. It's not a whole lot, just enough to lightly buff into the skin. It's also important to do this before setting the foundation with powder. That's why I only applied the powder to the under eye area. If I had applied the powder all over the face and then used this cream foundation on top of it, it would be super difficult to blend out and it would end up looking patchy and muddy. So always remember, liquids and creams come first and then powders on top. Now that we're done with all of the liquid and cream products we'll be using for the skin today, we can now apply the powder. Heading back to the One Size powder, I'm working more of it into the puff before applying it to the face. When it comes to the rest of the face, I don't want to go in heavy today with all of the powder. I want to keep it really clean and fresh by just using enough powder to set it. The first time I used this powder was a few videos back, before the brand and I even partnered up. And I think the first thing I mentioned was how much of a blurring effect this has on the skin. It is really a beautiful powder. It's versatile in the sense that you can go heavy and bake with it, but you can also keep it simple by just using a little here and there. And I will honestly tell you, as a makeup artist who has worked on every skin type and every skin color and has used pretty much every setting powder known to man, I do really appreciate how this powder doesn't leave a white cast to the skin. I don't know if I put that the right way, but it's just something I've experienced so many times with translucent powders before, is that it has this grayish white cast it can leave behind, especially in photography. Flash photography, it's the worst when it has you looking like a ghost. But anyways, I love how that isn't the case with this powder. And for the cherry on top, I thought it was really cool how the brand gave me complete creative control of how I wanted to demonstrate this product for you guys today. It was important for me to showcase it on an everyday person like my friend here, Angel, who wants to cover up the darkness around the eyes with a concealer that needs to be set with a good powder. As much as I love working on models, I personally just find it more relatable working on everyday people that share the same concerns as we do, who possibly don't have the best skin or the perfect bright under eyes or the stereotypical model bone structure. There are some models who I do makeup on who I could literally pour cat litter on and they're still gonna look like they're gracing the cover of Vogue. You know what I'm saying? Which leads me to mentioning, I'm always looking for everyday people to do makeup on for my channel here. So if you're down to get painted by me, hit me up down below in the comments. Okay. I'm getting sidetracked. Back to the tutorial. What I've done here is baked the jawline using the one size powder and the flat edge of the puff. And as I promised earlier, I'm gonna apply a little more of this powder underneath the eyes to assure the concealer is locked into place and doesn't budge throughout the day. The last step I'm using this powder for is to run through the eyebrows. I find this step to be key before applying brow products. Sometimes the foundation and the skincare we use can make the brows and the skin a little slippery, making it difficult to apply a brow pencil. But by mattifying it first, it gives the brow pencil something to grip onto, therefore dispensing more pigment. Next, using the Brow Wiz by Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Soft Brown, I'm gonna begin building up this brow into the shape Angel likes. She likes a bold brow, so I'm really going to lengthen the shape and deepen the shade so it resembles her natural hair color. The contrast of the dark brow against her light blonde hair makes it kind of edgy and fun, and we love that for her. Once I have the basic shape down, I'm dipping into the Brow Powder Duo by Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Medium Brown and running this through the areas of the brow with an angled brush that I want to add more depth to. For an extra bit of detail, I'm taking the brow pen, also by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and creating small strokes through the brows that resemble brow hairs. And I believe this is in the shade dark brown or maybe medium brown. I'll check and be sure and link it down below along with everything else that I used today. And lastly, for the brows, I'm taking this Benefit Clear Brow Gel and running it through the brow hairs. This not only locks the hairs into place all day, but it also helps remove any debris from the foundation or the powders we used earlier. Okay, the brows are done, and now we have to clean up the powder. Using this Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin in the shade Y355, I'm wiping away the setting powder that we let sit there for the last few minutes while doing the brows. This is another trick I use that I love to get that flawless under eye finish. Wiping away the setting powder with your foundation powder gives the most beautiful look to the skin, and I'm just using a standard fluffy face brush to do this, nothing too special. Also, I'm not using a lot of this foundation powder, just the slightest amount of it. To begin the eye makeup, I'm starting out with the Rare Beauty Soft Pinch Blush in the shade Happy and applying this onto the lid with a flat shadow brush. The eye makeup is going to be pretty simple today. I want the look to be fresh and feminine and flirty, so I'm creating a soft eye look that will tie in beautifully with the blush and lip color that we use later on. Also, I've used this blush a couple of times now on my channel, and I know how many of you have told me that you ended up getting it for yourselves, so I want to show you the versatility in the product. Besides using it for the obvious, which is blush, I'm also using it as the eyeshadow base. I've placed it on the lid from the lash line up to the crease and then diffusing it out with a blending brush. Next, with the KKW Beauty Blush Duo in the shade Classic Pink, I'm placing the matte shade all over the lid to lock in that liquid blush we used below it. Now that I think about it, I'm not using even one eyeshadow for this look today, so if you're one to not have many eyeshadows at home, this is the video for you. Once we have that placed and blended, I'm moving on using the Huda Beauty Legit Lashes Mascara to coat the top and bottom lashes before applying the false lashes. The false lashes I used today, I ended up creating myself off camera. I just built up a wispy lash using individuals. If you want me to film a video showing you all how I do that, I totally can. Just let me know down below. But it's something I do often for Angel because I know how she likes her lashes, and this approach allows me to customize the lash style to her eye shape. With this eye popper in the shade Pea House from One Size, I'm placing the smallest amount of this to the inner corner while we wait for the lash glue to dry. Of course, like everything I'm showing here today, this is optional. We both just agreed that it would spice up the eye makeup without it looking like too much. And it does. It makes it look a little more glamorous and interesting. It's a fun pop of sparkle to brighten up the look. As you see here, I've headed back to the KKW blush we used on the lids to pop onto the cheeks now. I love blush, so I do go kind of crazy with it, but blush is just one of those things that when you think you've used enough, use a little bit more, because by the time you walk out the door, half of it is gone. It's so weird, but it always happens with blush. Using the Shimmering Skin Perfector by Becca in the shade Opal, I'm dusting this onto the high points of the cheekbones, the forehead, down the center of the nose, and the Cupid's bow to add a little glow back to the skin. Nothing too crazy or striking or outrageous, just a soft glow. Moving on to the lips, I'm using a lip pencil from Morphe in the shade Guide Me and using this to line the borders. I want the lip color to tie in well with the pink from the blush and eye makeup, which will be a dramatic difference from how we started this tutorial. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm already getting prepared for these outro shots. This girl is crazy for doing this, but at the same time, we can't really judge her. 2020 has been a rough year for us all. I think we'd be lying if we said we didn't have a few mornings waking up looking a little busted. But it's nothing that a little makeup can't fix. Next up, to fill in the lips, I'm using a Demi Matte Liquid Lipstick from Huda Beauty in the shade Shiro, and I'm filling in the lip in the areas that I didn't apply the lip pencil. Honestly, I could have used the liquid blush for this too, but what can I do now? It still looks beautiful, and once I apply gloss on top, perfection. This NARS gloss in the shade Turkish Delight is the one I'll be using today. It's this light baby pink shade that's not too opaque, so by the time it's added on top of a lipstick, it's not going to completely cover up the pigment from that lipstick. It just adds this beautiful glossy shine to it with a hint of that baby pink hue. And lastly, I'm using the Huda Beauty Glow Cocoa Hydrating Mist to refresh the skin and to set the makeup into place, which makes this the final step in this Hangover Makeover tutorial. There we have it, kids. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to give this video a big ol' thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out more of my work on my Instagram at PAINTEDBYSPENCER. And until next time, I'll see you soon.